Welcome back. I'm Jeremy Worley, your host, here with our SSD expert attorney, Josh Worley, here to answer all of our questions, busting myths, proving them true. Josh, welcome. We're going to jump right in. We got a big one today. We're starting with the big myth. Today's myth is almost nobody gets approved. That's a big one. Let's jump in. All right. What do you say about almost nobody gets approved?
Okay, so yeah, this is the biggest one probably. We get calls in our office all the time, and I talk to people all the time that are going through the disability process, and a lot of people out there feel like that nobody ever gets approved, that it's almost impossible. They've been denied multiple times, been through this process multiple times, and it just feels like they never get approved. Well, that's not correct. The reality is that a lot of people get approved. In fact, hundreds of thousands of people get approved for disability every year. The real numbers are, I'm going to talk about the three different steps that are kind of the first steps of the process, and these are the steps that are the main ones that people are involved in, and that they're in the process of. There's an initial application, and when you file an initial application, 30% get approved. Okay, so that's a small percentage or a lot. So if you're thinking of 10 people out there that have applied, 3 of those people will get approved.
I mean, do you think that's why so many people feel like nobody ever gets approved, is because that initial application, so many do get denied at that stage?
Yes, exactly. Because they apply, they're all, they're hopeful that they're going to be successful, and then only 30% get approved. So that means 70% get denied. So then they get that denial in the mail. They're so discouraged, and a lot of people just throw that away. They give up and they just move on, and they continue to struggle, and they just feel like, okay, I'm never going to get this. I'm not going to get approved. And they just move on. Well, that's the mistake that people make. The key thing to do in a Social Security disability claim is that you've got to stick with it. You've got to go through the various steps in the process. And as you go through those steps, then more and more people are approved. Okay, so let me give you the exact percentages. 30% are approved at the application level. If you get denied, then you file what we call request for reconsideration. So it's basically just the first appeal level, and only 10 to 15% get approved at that reconsideration level. So again, don't give up when that happens. Continue to pursue it and file another appeal. That third step, which is the second appeal, is a hearing level. It's a request for hearing. And at the hearing level, 50% are approved. So as you go along, as you go through these steps, more and more people are approved. And I like to kind of break it down. I mentioned 10 people. If 10 people started out and they applied for disability benefits, okay, 30% of those people will get approved. So 3 out of those 10 get approved. That leaves 7 people that are left in the process. If those 7 people applied for reconsideration or filed for reconsideration, then 10 to 15% of those get approved. So that's another 1 person that's approved. So now 4 out of 10 have been approved. Okay, that leaves 6 that are still lingering in this process. Those 6, if they requested a hearing, 50% get approved at that hearing level. So that means 3 out of the 6 would get approved. So when you put those all together, that's 7 out of 10 that are approved for disability benefits that start it, if they stick with the process. But like I said, the problem is people drop off along the way, and they give up, and they just don't do anything about it. And so that's the myth, is that, and this breaks this myth that nobody gets approved. The reality is, if you stick with it, 7 out of 10 get approved.
I mean, that's a lot different than when you think about someone initially when they first say, because that's a big decision. Someone decides, I can't work, or this is a major life decision, I'm going to apply. Right. And they go through this process of applying, and all of a sudden, 70% are not getting it, I could see how a lot would just feel like, well, I gave it a shot. Nobody gets this thing.
Yeah.
But it seems like what you are saying is it's really more just this process. You got to stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
No, going in knowing, hey, I'm probably going to get denied like most people.
Yep.
But then I go through the next step and keep going through the next step, where by the end, if 70% are the numbers, that's a pretty good percent.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of going in knowing that it's going to take some time and a process to try and get to that point.
Yeah, you've really got to be persistent. You got to stick with it. Go into the disability process knowing that it is likely going to take you time, and it's going to be a process. But if you stick with it, then your chances are good that you can get approved. Your chances are even better when you have an attorney, because a disability attorney knows everything that is involved with the process. They know how to make your case a success. There was a study a few years ago that came out that said that people with an attorney are 3 times more likely to get approved. So stick with it, hire an attorney, and if you do that, you've got a really good chance of getting approved.
Awesome. Good info. So I think we can agree this one is officially busted.
Busted.
So I think our takeaway here is, there are quite a few that do get denied initially, but what Josh has shown us is just with time, if you continue to stick with it, go through the process, knowing it may take some time, you actually have closer to about a 70% chance of getting approved ultimately. And as he said, doing everything you can to help your chances. Obviously, hiring an attorney that can come in and assist you probably takes off a lot of the challenge and the headaches with this, but also really greatly increases your chances. So this one's busted. Hopefully you learned a lot of helpful information. Definitely follow us if you found a lot of helpful information in this episode. We're going to continue with these, hopefully do some new topics in the future that you're going to find helpful. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll see you next time.